Because the inferior trapezius is responsible for retraction of the scapula and depression of the scapula, you want to try and bring the inferior angle of your scapula toward the opposite glute. The way you're going to do that is by raising your arms and bringing your arms into adduction and depressing your scapula. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm joined by Michael from One Body, and today we're going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 strengthening exercises for shoulder pain, and we don't want to waste any of your time, so let's go ahead and get on with the exercises. The first strengthening exercise for shoulder pain is going to be for the rhomboids. For this one right over here, you want the patient to be in a prone position, so they're going to be on their stomach, and then in terms of the setup position, you want their chin pinned to the ground. The reason we're pinning the chin to the ground is to release the tension on the levator scapulae muscle, and then you want the arms at the level of the glenohumeral angle. If you are a therapist putting a patient through this exercise, what you can do is palpate the scapula, you're going to bring the arm in a neutral position, and then you're going to elevate the humerus. When you see that as you elevate the humerus, the scapula moves with it, that is the glenohumeral angle, and that is the position that you want the arm in. If you are a patient doing this by yourself, roughly when you extend your arms, when your palm is at the level of your forehead or slightly higher, that's going to be the level of your glenohumeral angle. And in terms of the actual exercise itself, the main principle of action, because the scapula is responsible for retraction, we want to raise the arms as high toward the ceiling as possible and retract the shoulder blades simultaneously. So imagine that there's a pencil between your shoulder blades and you're trying to squeeze it together. And that is the strengthening exercise for the rhomboid major. If we want to target the rhomboid minor, then we want to bring the arm above the level of the glenohumeral angle. So you're going to go a little bit more into abduction, and same thing, you're going to elevate the hands as high as you can toward the ceiling, and then you want to squeeze your shoulder blades together. That is the segmental strengthening and reinforcement exercise for the rhomboid minor. The second strengthening exercise for shoulder pain is going to be for the inferior trapezius. For the inferior trapezius, the setup is exactly the same. You're in a prone position, your chin is on the mat to release some tension on the levator scapulae muscle. For this one though, your arms are going into adduction, so you're bringing them by your side, your palms are facing the ceiling, and because the inferior trapezius is responsible for retraction of the scapula and depression of the scapula, you want to try and bring the inferior angle of your scapula toward the opposite glute. The way you're going to do that is by raising your arms and bringing your arms into adduction and depressing your scapula as though you're trying to bring your palms into the opposite back pocket. That is the action that you want to do. And that is the strengthening exercise for the inferior fibers of the trapezius. Next, the third strengthening exercise for shoulder pain is going to be for the posterior deltoid. This one, you are going to be in a kneeling position, and in terms of the actual setup position, you're on your knees, chin is tucked in, crown of the head is pushing up toward the sky, eyes are looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension, and because we're targeting the posterior fibers of the deltoid, what we want to do, if we want to target the most posterior fibers, we want to go into maximum external rotation. So Michael, for this one, he is just going to go into extension of the humerus by bringing his arms as far back as he can. Then, if we want to target the middle fibers of the posterior deltoid, he's going to maintain a neutral position. So like you're doing a hammer curl with the dumbbells, your palms are facing each other. And then, if we want to target more the anterior fibers of the posterior deltoid, then Michael's going to go into maximum maximum internal rotation of the arm, and then he's going to go into extension of the humerus. And that is the strengthening exercise for the posterior deltoid. Next, the fourth strengthening exercise for shoulder pain is going to be for the supraspinatus. For the supraspinatus, there are a couple ways that we can target it. The first is going to be through external rotation of the shoulder. The second is going to be internal. When we're doing external rotation, we want the arm to be in antepulsion, meaning the elbow is going to be above the level of the coronal plane. So for this one right over here, Michael is going into internal, and then he's coming, and the actual motion is going to be external rotation. And then if we want to target the supraspinatus in internal rotation, then we want to go into retropulsion of the humerus. For retropulsion of the humerus, you want the elbow below the level of the coronal plane, so below the midline of the body. And then Michael's going to go into maximum external rotation, and then he's going to come into internal rotation by bringing his forearm until it's perpendicular to the ground. Everything else, you want to maintain some flexion of the hips and knees, retroversion of the pelvis, flat spine, his chin is tucked in, crown of the head is pushing out, and his eyes are looking down between the thighs to put the dura mater under tension. And this is the strengthening exercise for the supraspinatus in both antepulsion and retropulsion. And then last, the fifth and final strengthening exercise for shoulder pain is going to be for the thoracic diaphragm. For the thoracic diaphragm, your hips and knees are going to be flexed, You want to maintain retroversion of the pelvis, flat spine, chin is tucked in, crown of the head is out, your eyes are looking down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. And then for this one, you want to place a kettlebell onto your stomach. So I'm going to give Michael that kettlebell, and what he wants to do as the main principle of action, he wants to inhale and raise the kettlebell as high toward the ceiling as you possibly can, and then exhale and bring it toward his belly button, or bring it toward his spine. And this right over here is the strengthening exercise for the thoracic diaphragm. In terms of the weight, ideally you should be able to do this exercise with the amount of your weight on your stomach. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be able to do this with a 200-pound kettlebell on your stomach. If you're not able to do that, build up to it. Ideally, start with 20% of your body weight, do 20 repetitions, and then once that feels comfortable, you can gradually build up the weight until you have enough weight that it matches your body weight. But those are the 5 strengthening exercises for shoulder pain. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 strengthening exercises for shoulder pain. If you are somebody who has shoulder pain, or if you are a clinician who treats patients with shoulder pain, come to our seminar on September 18th. We're going to be going over all of these exercises and more. And then next week, what we're going to be doing is going over the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for shoulder pain. So be on the lookout for that. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them down in the comments section, because we would love to answer your questions and love to hear your guys' thoughts. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so we know to keep making these videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as we will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again tomorrow.